A friend of mine and I had talked about starting a caregiving agency a couple of times through the idea around she was working for a caregiving agency that was burning through management staff. I mean, they they were not very organized. I won't say the name of who it was, but they were not very organized. They were burning through management staff and office staff. The caregivers were walking all over the office staff because there was so much turnover. So they felt very, we know more than you do. You don't even know what you're doing. And there was a lot of, this is what I'm going to do because I want to. And I know that that's the policy, but this is how it works better. And you don't know what you're doing anyways because you just got here. The culture was really broken. And I had a friend who wanted me to come to work with her to fix it. And you should, she's like, you should apply here. You could, run this place with your eyes closed. You could do so much better. And then there was also discussion of, hey, they're making so much money doing a horrible job. We could do this so much better if we started our own place. And I was working somewhere else at the time that I was making a really great paycheck. We had really great benefits. Wasn't really a good time for me to step away and go into the caregiving space. Fast forward just about a year and my situation completely changed. And at that time, it was because my dad needed help. And he was down in Boise and I lived in northern Idaho. So we didn't have proximity on our side. It was, a 6 or 7 hour drive to get to where he was. And it was dire. His caregiver was taking advantage of him. She was stealing from him, which is every family member's worst nightmare. And the caregiving agency that was involved had no oversight on what she was doing in his house. This caregiver had broken HIPAA by moving her boyfriend, who shouldn't have even known my dad's name, let alone where he lived. She moved her boyfriend into his house. They were using my dad's credit cards to buy his band equipment. And when she was clocked in and supposed to be there, the manager of the care agency and I showed up at my dad's house and she wasn't there, even though she was clocked in. And my dad was trying to be protective of her because he didn't really understand the scope of what she was doing, didn't realize that she was writing herself checks out of his bank account, using his card unlawfully at the grocery store to buy not only his groceries, but an ungodly amount of groceries. He would usually spend $70 to $90 at a time at the grocery store because he ate out a lot. A lot of times it was takeout. Pizza Hut would come and deliver pizza to the door. He wanted to go eat McDonald's or he wanted to go to his favorite diner. So, he'd had cereal and milk and, a few things in the house that he would go grocery shopping for that he liked to have on hand. But for the most part, he liked to eat out. So he didn't have a really big grocery bill. And we were noticing charges on his credit card where there was $1,400 being spent at the same time down at the Albertsons. And we're going, whoa, what is happening here? And then as we discovered checks that were being written out to the caregiver, then we realized, okay, this is really bad. She's into everything. And he didn't have a support network there. He had fallen a couple of times. He wasn't doing very well on his feet. So knocked out a tooth. Didn't tell us. Every time we called, he would always say, yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm fine. And fine wasn't really what he was doing. So he'd go down and say, hey, Dad, like what happened here? Oh yeah, I got to get to the dentist. I knocked out a tooth. I fell. There was no phone call. There was no informing us of how he was doing. And I think when adult children move away, or in his case, he had left California and moved to Idaho when he retired because he had purchased a house there and it was just a cheaper cost of living for him to retire in a different state. And when elderly parents do that, sometimes it's great or it's for financial reasons. but also they're taking themselves out of that support network of people, and they're moving into communities where they don't have an existing support network. And because of that, healthcare, home healthcare that comes into the house, or caregiving services that are personal care services, which is what we specialize in, will come in to assist that person as they start not being able to do as much for themselves as they used to be able to do. And it's really nice, even if somebody's just coming in one day a week to check in, to have somebody be able to do that and report back to the family on how they're doing. That communication, I think, builds a lot of trust and helps people to, stay compliant and know that, oh, there's family that has eyes on what's going on here. They know who's here. There's some accountability in knowing who's in the house and having that open communication. So I think that's important. But that's really, that situation of him being taken advantage of is really what kind of catapulted In-Home Care for You into existence. Now, I didn't go down there and think, okay, great, I'm going to start a caregiving agency. I went down there and said, oh my gosh, Dad, what's going on? We need to get you safe. Like, where do you want to go? You want to move back east, go be close to your sisters and your aunts out there? Or do you want to go back to Northern California, be closer to my brother? Do you want to come up to Northern Idaho, be closer to me and my husband? Where do you want to be? Because here isn't safe for you anymore. And so he thought a lot about it and decided that he wanted to come move closer to myself and my husband. And so we helped him with that relocation process. And I just was like, hey, I will come check on you, and I did for a long time. I was working at the school at the time, and every day after school, my kids and I would drive. As soon as school got out, I would button up my classroom, do whatever I needed to do for the next day. Kids would get in the car. We would drive over to Grandpa's house. And it was about 30 minutes away because my husband and I live in a very rural community, and we wanted him to be closer to his fast food that he loved and the doctor's offices, things like that. So we would drive to his house, and I would do his laundry. I would meal prep for the following day. I would make him dinner and my kids dinner. We would just all kind of share a dinner together. Then I would take leftovers home for my husband, who lived on leftovers for about a year, because I would just bring him dinner after we had made dinner. Or sometimes he would just have to fend for himself because we were at my dad's house. And I would do his laundry, get him a shower. He wasn't safe showering on his own because of his MS, but he did like to shower every day. And so we would get him into the shower. He'd like to have his bed made. So even though it was in the evening, his bed was getting made at night. And one night when I was there, he said, I really don't like taking showers in the evening. I need you here at 9 a.m. And I was like, I have a classroom full of kids at that time, Dad. If you want somebody here at 9 a.m, we're going to have to hire somebody else to come in. And because of our experience, I was so hesitant and skeptical about hiring an agency. And I had a really hard time trusting who was going to come into the house, and were they going to be qualified, and were they going to be nice, and were they going to be good people, and because of that, I decided to start In-Home Care for You. I didn't want to pay somebody under the table and have the liability, the risk that they would have the remote possibility of suing my dad for his house if something happened. They could twist their back while they were helping him in the shower, or there's any number of things. It could slip on ice outside of his house on the sidewalk. And if they slip on ice outside of the house, are they going to sue him? Is he going to lose the house? I wanted to make sure that there was a layer of protection. So limited liability company got started. We started paying into workman's comp right away. We have liability insurance, all of that stuff, so that the caregiver is protected through insurances through the company, and the client, at that time being my dad, was also protected. It wasn't a relationship between the two of them. The employee had a relationship with the company that was protected through workman's comp, and he had a relationship with the company that was protected through the liability insurance. And so even though it was me and my dad and we were just looking for a caregiver, I wanted to make sure that ultimately it was about protection for him. And so we started we had a clipboard with a piece of paper on it that said, write down your name, what you did when you were here, and how many hours you worked. And that was it. That's all we had when we started, just a clipboard and a piece of paper. And that soon changed when we got a phone call from a friend of mine. Hey, how's it working out with that caregiver for your dad?